The Shep Naz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shep Naz Podcast. I'm Joe and I'm your host today. Yesterday, we started a discussion with Bryan Clay about a local organization that has a global impact called Design Outreach. And if that sounds familiar to you, well, maybe you listened yesterday or maybe you've heard it before. We've had the founder, Greg Bixler, on before, but as we discovered in yesterday's episode, which if you haven't heard, I encourage you to go back and listen to that our very own Bryan Clay is now working with Design Outreach, and he helps out with their accounting and finances and all that kind of stuff. And yesterday we were able to talk a little bit about how he came to be at Design Outreach, but today we want to dive a little more into the details of what the ministry does and maybe some things that they have on the horizon. So welcome in, Bryan.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We mentioned yesterday, you kind of gave a category of products called WASH. And I think you said it was water and sanitation hygiene or something like that?
Correct.
All right. So I guess let's start there, if you would. Kind of tell us about the actual working products that Design Outreach has designed and engineered.
Yeah, just as a bit of background, there's been a lot of nonprofits who have gone into Africa specifically and put hand pumps into Africa. And I'm going to talk about the Design Outreach pump here in a second, but there's like 750,000 hand pumps all over Africa. And unfortunately, they put them in with such a rush to make an impact for the people because most of them have never experienced clean water, that some of those products probably weren't designed to the level that probably people wanted to be. So you can find throughout Africa up to 40% of them not working at a given time.
Yeah.
And when you have clean water, I mean, when you don't have it and then they put a pump in and you do have it, it's transformational, as you said yesterday. Mm-hmm. But when then it goes away, now you're back to where you once were. And there will be villages that have once had clean water, but they might go another 10 years before clean water comes back. It's just incredible the impact when you don't have clean water. So these pumps are all over Africa. So when Greg and Abe came together 10 plus years ago, they designed the life pump. And as opposed to a hand pump where the 750,000 where you just pump on a big stake, our hand pump, you rotate it.
Right. So instead of it being like the old style air pump for a bicycle tire,
right,
this is more like you're taking the pedals off of a bicycle and doing those by hand.
Correct.
One time when I was talking to Greg and I said, okay, I'm going to just let you nerd out and explain to me the tech behind it. Boy, he just lit up like a Christmas tree and was telling me why he changed why it had to be designed this way and how much more reliable it was. And there's some amazing things. I mean, it sounds in American culture, like you just turn the faucet on and water comes out. Right. We don't really have any appreciation for that. But this design is really it's groundbreaking, pun intended, I guess. But the way this pump works, and then you guys have also coupled this with like technology where he's getting data back on if these pumps are performing and how well they're performing. And so kind of, if you would speak a little bit to, I know there's such an emphasis on the excellence of the products.
Yeah, so our flagship product, what we're really known for, is this life pump, and we've installed up to close to 500, maybe of them around Africa and some in the Caribbean. They when they first put it in, it was 12 years ago, and the first pump that we put in is still operating.
Wow!
And it's pumped water every day. And to your point, we have another product called the Life Pump Link, which we put on every life pump. And it gives us satellite data to the minute on every pump that has this the satellite link, and we can at any time tell you how many gallons it's pumped for that day. Is it operating? Why isn't it operating? We can reach out to the village. Sometimes we can send technicians out to maybe make the tweak and fix it, or maybe sometimes it's a problem on their end, or for some reason it's not being used. But this link is one of our second product that I was going to bring up, and it certainly is giving us lifetime data on how effective the product's working. And I would say the life pump, it lasted 12 years. The pump goes much deeper and it reaches into the water tables much deeper than most of the pumps that I talked about, the 750 pumps do. So it's just been an incredible design that our guys have put out that really meets needs that we think is sustainable and really going to sustain the needs of the community.
And not to disparage the efforts of other organizations that are trying to meet these needs, but just to kind of highlight the difference in excellence that you guys are creating. When you're saying that first pump was out there 12 years ago, pretty sure the standard for a lot of these other pumps that are being installed in areas is about 2 years. Yeah. And then, like you said, they get abandoned, and people started to build lives around this water source. And then when it goes out, they can't sustain life in that area anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So it's having something that's going to be that reliable, and for you guys to just not treat it as a one and done. Like, not only are we going to put it there, but we're going to track it and make sure it works. And if something does go wrong, we'll know and you'll hear from us.
That's correct. And, to that point, most of the work we're doing is in the country of Malawi, which is one of the poorer countries in the world. We do in other countries, but Malawi we have 11 employees there. And half of those employees are technicians that know more about the water pump. They've worked for the government in Malawi doing water installations. So these guys, when we find out something that's wrong, they get on it and try to figure out what's going on. And if they need to get out and fix it, they will.
That's great. Well, what's any of the other products that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, we have a life tap is what they call it. And this is more for like a spigot on the side of your house, and so it's not really for the life pump. So you got a lot of villages that will have a big water source. They send it down to the spigot on the side of your house, and there may be 3 outlets where people can come and get their water. Mm-hmm. And it turns like your nozzle on the side of your house. And those things inevitably break. And sometimes they break while the water's coming out.
Which is even worse.
Yes. And Malawi's known for their famines. I mean, They hope the rainy season comes every year, but if it doesn't, if you're wasting water, it's a big, big deal. So they've put this tap on the end of these spigots that basically you got to squeeze it and the water comes out. And when you let go, the water stops. And, it's just a smart thing to conserve water for the next guy that's going to come up, because if that spigot's not working, you got a problem. Yeah. So that's the Life Tap. So that's another product. And another one is the Life Latrine. So sanitation and we've...
Well, and Greg had just, last time we had talked, had mentioned that like this was coming about. Right. And he was describing in vivid, horrible detail about how sometimes people would, actually there's physical safety issues with people falling into these old latrines.
That's right.
And like, it's not a safe thing. So I am very curious to hear about this part, because I'd love to hear where things are developing at this point.
Yeah, well, I'm not an engineer, so don't ask me real technical questions, but it's in development, and it's basically we've installed it in different areas around Malawi, and we still go back and check them to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. The ground in Malawi is not clay like we have on our ground here in Ohio. It's a sand-based structure. And to your point, the existing latrines can cave in, and there have been people who have fallen into these latrines and basically died. It's a terrible thought.
That is possibly the worst way to go.
That's exactly right. So our latrines are designed where they dig way down into the ground, but they've got this big structure, and you need to talk to one of our engineers to know more about it. But we're putting it in. They're real excited, because if the latrine leaks, like a lot of the existing ones do, and it gets into the water table of the life pump or other life water products, it infiltrates the water, and it creates malaria diseases, and people die from that as well. So our product, we think, would distinguish itself. It would be separated from the water that's out there, and it would be a good addition to what we're doing.
So, is there anything else on the horizon? Other products?
Yeah, right now we're probably going through maybe one of the most exciting developments that these guys have come up with, and it's I talked about these 750 pumps all over the country, and many of them not working. They've developed a kit, not for our pumps that we design, but for these other ones that they think can be a very cheap fix for products where you can. It might be one part that needs a fix. It could be a $6 part that we developed. You go to the pump, you take 10 minutes, you put it on this pump, and the next thing you know, this village has water again for another 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, we've got some other parts to the kit as well, but we think that potentially this could impact, because it's so cheap, and it's going to impact existing pumps that are out there, millions and millions of people transforming, again, going from dirty water to clean water, and the benefits of that are enormous.
Well, and for some people, when they first hear that, they'll be like, "Well, why wouldn't you just dig up the bad one and put one of the new life pumps in?" But it's not that simple of a process. First of all, because you got to be able to drill,
Right.
whatever the depth is, 100 feet, whatever, and to be able to install a new pump. And what we don't think about is, in the meantime, what do these people do for water?
Right.
So if I can go out there with a $6 part and get you 2 more years worth of water, it sure makes a lot of sense. And then maybe, long term, maybe there is going to be another solution in place, but I could do that every couple years and keep you in water for what, $24 for the next 4 years.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So that makes a whole lot of sense if you're able to help out those existing pumps that are already out there.
I've never seen the organization so excited about an upcoming product as this one, and it's very close to being launched into the marketplace. They're just tweaking little different designs, and there's a lot of excitement. So that's really cool for me to witness it and be a part of it.
Right. Now, we're going to get a little bit into kind of your opportunity to go to Malawi, but I wanted to make sure if there was any other products or initiatives underway that I give you opportunity for that as well.
Yeah, one last one I'll bring up is we have a medical product called a negative wound therapy device. And again, in Africa,
I'm going to guess engineering named that one, not marketing.
It wasn't me. So I don't even know if I said it right when I came out with it. But a lot of hospitals in Africa do not have electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And for critical wounds that take place on our body, we can go to our hospitals and they can put some kind of device on it, and with the electricity, it heals them much faster. But most of Africa doesn't have these type of products, so this one's not quite mature, but it's very close, and we have to do this with the FDA and get all the medical approvals that you do for a medical product here. But it's a non-electrical device that's called negative wound therapy, and they can do it with gravity, and they've got the device. So they're trying to hone in on a couple of products or a couple of parts that they haven't totally found a perfect fix yet. But they go over and test it in hospitals right now in Kenya and different countries over there, and the hospitals are just chomping at the bit to get it. When can you get it to us? When can you make it happen? And so that's one that is significant time is being spent on it in the office with conference calls throughout the day and talking to outside medical professionals. So it's an exciting development as well.
Some true life-saving developments.
Yeah.
So you did get a chance to go to Malawi. Tell us a little bit about that, how that came about, and what you got to do while you were there.
Yeah, so Greg approached me last, July, and said, "Hey, we'd like for you to go to Africa. We want you to meet, we have an accountant over there as well, and meet face-to-face and understand some of his issues, but we want you to see really what's going on." So they paired Tracy and I up with a couple of other, what I would call visionaries, people who have given to DO, and they want to make sure that these people who have given kind of large sums can go over and see it and make sure and feel good about it. So we went over and spent 11 days in Malawi. Now, I will say this, Tracy and I tagged on an 11-day trip to Egypt, just her and I, where we checked every box you could do in Egypt. It was incredible. Tracy had taught Egypt in school for many years, and it was a big deal for her. So anyway, as good as that was, our time in Malawi was beyond special. And when I say that we stayed in a guest house that Design Outreach owns over there. That doesn't own, but we rent it. And sometimes the food was good in the guest house, and sometimes the water was hot in the guest house. Sometimes the water worked in the shower. Sometimes it didn't. The roads were beyond bad. And we sat in the back of an SUV and you're bumping, and sometimes it's just Joan barring, driving up and down. And we go to villages, and it's just like you see on TV. You know, we pull in, they know why we're there. The ladies and the children come out singing this song like they're here. You save the day. And we go into, we're going to do an installation of a life pump. And there's kind of this formal presentation before you do it where we say something, it's interpreted, then the village says something back to it, it's interpreted, it goes back and forth. But one of the takeaways was these ladies of the village said, please do this for others beyond us. They were concerned not only about their selfish needs or their human needs, but they wanted other villages to experience it. So that was pretty powerful. But anyway, we do the installation. And after, as they're kind of installing the pump, there's a sermon preached by, we have a pastor on staff over in Malawi, so he preaches the sermon, and it's kind of the connection to you know, for him and people to come into the village. And so that was part of the trip. And another part of the trip is they have a refugee camp, the 2 refugee camps. We went to one of them. I think it's like 50 or 60,000 people live in this camp.
Wow.
And people are coming in from other countries that are at war, at strife, or their homes are being torn apart. And, you know, it's not really on the news over here in the States, but it's real consequences.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they arrive at the border, they're vetted for a couple of weeks, then they put them on buses and send them to the camp. And the conditions in the camp are not great. Again, it's Malawi, one of the poor countries in the world, welcoming all these people to come into their country, which just is unfathomable for us here in the U.S.
Sure.
And we saw the needs that they had. We saw our products working in this camp. And I'll never forget, as we left that day, there were 2 buses that had just pulled in, and we were watching these people get off the bus. And I just kind of thought, they're getting off and they're looking up in the sky saying, what's happened to me? I left the Congo, I left Sudan, I left wherever I was at, and I probably walked to the border of Malawi or somehow got there. And now I'm in this camp of some country I don't know about, but it was pretty special to me that the country of Malawi is doing that for others. Really powerful. So the one other thing I would say about our workers in Malawi, these 11 people are thinking beyond themselves. They just think anything they could do for these villages as they go out there every day and meet their needs was super special. So just the people of Malawi were overwhelmingly positive. They want to help others. They want to be helped themselves, but it's not all about them. So that was an incredible trip for us that we got to see.
Well, you know, and I think what you're saying is a universal truth. When we want to see God do something amazing, it's when we're thinking beyond ourselves. And certainly Design Outreach has modeled that. As people are listening today, they might be thinking, this sounds like a really cool group that I'd want to help out. So tell us ways that we can engage or support the ministry that's going on through Design Outreach.
Yeah, but before I jump into it, I'll say this. I'm guessing a lot of our listeners are probably giving to the church, giving to nonprofits that they've felt compelled to give to, and God's a part of that. And they're probably tapped out as far as their resources, but there's probably other people out there looking for good organizations to give to, and they may have the means to do it. And if God puts Dio on their mind, here's some thoughts that I would say. Number one, you can always pray. Again, we have team meetings every day in the office where prayer is a big part of it, and so prayer is a big part of. We have people all over the country and the world praying for us as well. So you could be a part of that partnership and invest in prayer. Secondly, you can visit our website. You referenced the website. It was either today or yesterday, and the website's very informational. And it certainly talks about our products, and it talks about our ministry and the gospel outreach. So that's a good way to learn more about us. Thirdly, if you ever want to talk to me or one of our stewardship staff, you can contact the stewardship staff through the website, or you can if you want to see me at church or reach out to me and find a connection to me, I'd be glad to sit down and talk to you. Again, I'm not a part of that stewardship team, but they would probably do it much better than me, but it's real to me. It's fresh to me. So that's why it's exciting. And every time I talk to people about design outreach, I'm afraid that I'm almost selling it from a fundraising perspective. And I'm afraid they're never going to talk to me again because they're not in a position to give. And I hate that thought, but there are opportunities to give. Again, we have a 3-year campaign going on that we're trying to raise $15 million. Everything that we're doing, we want to do so much more, but we are limited by funding. So that campaign is one way to give. Another way to give is to maybe support a life pump. A lot of churches, that's how they indoctrinate themselves, or clubs or affinities or schools. They will nominate a champion is what they call it, and that person will be responsible for fundraising for a life pump within their group. So a lot of people do it that way. And, I personally think that when you see the life pump and the impact of the life pump, that kind of engages into you about what we're doing. And then you want to find out more about what we're doing. And then I see this pattern where they say, yeah, I've helped with the life pump. Now I want to help kind of the whole broader organization. So anything you can do to give to help the general operating support just to make us bigger and better, it's certainly a good thing. So it's really going. The more I'm kind of a doubting Thomas when I go into an organization. I'm saying, are we really as good as we say we are? And I've experienced that firsthand in Malawi. And I go into the office every day, and the faith-based perspective they're teaching me every day, and it's just an honor to be a part of a team that's meeting the needs on both sides of it. So.
And it's wonderful to realize that as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, that God said, number one, I wasn't done with you. And number two, not only am I not done with you, but I'm going to find a way to use your skills for ministry. And I hope that's a challenge to anyone that's listening today, that whether you would want to support Design Outreach by going to designoutreach.org, or maybe the Lord just talking to you today about something that He's put on your heart of something that you can do in ministry with the skills and the talents and the abilities He's given you. You can check out everything that's going on by the church going to shepnaz.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Bryan, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.